So, hello. I'm here today to share a really cool story with you guys on how I found a way to do marketing that made me be proud of being a marketer again. For a lot of years, I felt like a sleazy salesperson when I did marketing, and I analyzed a few hundred actually campaigns to try to find out what was working and what was not working in marketing and how I could be proud of my job again. So that's kind of the main focus on my talk. Super quick about me. I've been doing this for a while. I started out really young. I dropped out of school and then just started building my own company. Also built one of Norway's first blogging platforms back in 2003. I've built up several companies. I've written a couple of books, and I'm a super marketing nerd. The coolest thing I know is to just sit down and do marketing stuff. And luckily, my wife is just as big as a nerd. So Saturdays might be wine and reading reports or discussing case studies. And it sounds weird, but it's amazing. Okay, so this is me 20 years ago, and this was kind of when I discovered the magic of the internet. I'm from a very, very small village in Norway with 350 people, 4 people in my class when I grew up. So being a super weird nerd, it was kind of hard to find people who had the same interests as me. That's why I really fast fell in love with the internet, and this is actually my first computer I bought myself, and I was very proud about that. But after a while, I started realizing that doing computer stuff, as my mom and dad said I was doing, developing things, I fell more and more in love with the marketing part of it. And that led me into a lot of different media companies, big and small in Norway. But after doing some really cool campaigns and big campaigns with fancy names, I got a bit frustrated. I got a bit frustrated on how we're communicating, and also that generating real results in campaigns is really hard, and it's very unpredictable. It shouldn't be like that, but at least for 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, it was that in a very clear way. And I went on a quest to try to find a better way to do things more predictable. So my mission was to find out, okay, how can I actually make people queue up to people's businesses instead of just making cool videos, cool campaigns that won prizes at Gulllegget or Cannes Lions or whatever. Every year I have a crazy summer project, and 3 years ago I decided that my crazy summer project should be finding the answer for that. And since I'm an entrepreneur, I really suck at vacations. I don't like vacations. I like working. So I spent all day with my family, and when they went to bed, I started my secret project for the year. And I started going through all the different campaigns 10 years back, looking at old Excel sheets, case studies, reports, emails, try to figure out some kind of common ground on what was working and what was not working, and not focused on platform or like a hype thing, but more a way to look into the future and be more predictable in the way I work. For a lot of people, marketing is almost like being in an arcade, trying different games and different tactics to win. And I remember a couple of years, or when I was young, I visited a big arcade that had something called the money game. You put 1 krona on top of the slot, and if you were really lucky in your timing, because all the money was going back and forth, you were able to get 3, 4, 5 coins back for each coin you put on. So I wanted to find a way to create my own little money game, getting more money back than I spent. So long story short, I was able to see some very clear patterns on what was working and what was not working. And I don't know if you've seen the movie A Beautiful Mind with Russell Crowe, where you have all the printouts and all the cool lines and all that stuff. I almost felt like that, and my wife thought I was a bit crazy actually working in on me one day. But I found it, and that's what I'm going to share with you today, and let you guys steal it and use it in your marketing. But before I go into details, I think it's important that we all agree on a certain things. So first of all, and I think marketers tend to forget sometimes the purpose of marketing. What is really the point of doing marketing? So why do you invest money, time, people doing this? Well, it's pretty obvious that you spend money to make more money. But the purpose of marketing is basically to reduce the cost of a sale. So if you do marketing the right way, you spend some money and you get more money in return. So it should be cheaper to do a sale than without the marketing. That's the whole point. And the best way to get people to buy something from you is very simple. It's to make them trust you, right? And I think a lot of brands have forgotten about this, but I think you need to build a relationship first before you sell people anything. This can be in an automated way. It doesn't need to be one-on-one, but you need to focus on giving value first. So I would say that marketing is really about the relationships. And the one thing that really stood out from all the campaigns, even big international campaigns I helped big brands to do, was that it started to focus on actually the individual, of the customers instead of the business. So it's what I call the jab method, which is like the essence of all the different marketing things I do. And the whole point of this is actually to give a lot of value before you ask them to do anything for you. So we tend to kind of just want to trick people into our world, getting people to like us or share things and do things instead of actually serving them. So in essence, I think marketers should make people trust them and then earn the right to sell. So I call this trust marketing. And when I started implementing this, it was really, really cool to see how a lot of things changed. So when I started to asking different questions to our customers and to our campaigns, the whole focus on the campaign really shifted, and it started to get a lot of more engagement and a lot of more reach in the campaigns. So with my method, I realized, okay, if you focus on this, you're able to get better results because you can get people to trust you faster. But one thing is to have a method, but you also need to put it into a system. And most companies have a very simple way of trying to market to people. So again, I went into super nerd mode and tried to just find out different ways of how you can do this. I love that a lot of people have talked about sales funnels today because so many marketers forget the power of making a sequence that is predictable and making it easy for you to understand where your marketing is flawed and then fix it from there. So this is a traditional sales funnel. You don't need to look a lot about that, but the magic around it is actually that the same thing happens every time, so you can start to really see the numbers to understand what is working. And then you can optimize it over time. So most campaigns, for example, on Facebook that I work with, we start with just making a small profit for the customer, and over the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, we're able to then reduce the cost of conversion and then increase revenue. So the great thing about sales funnels is that you're able to actually predict how many people will actually buy from you and how much money you need to spend to make that profitable. And another important thing that I think a lot of businesses are forgetting is the magic of upsells, selling more things after you sold anything. I don't care if you are a carpenter or you sell squishy toys or whatever, you will always be able, or you will make more money and you're able to spend more money to get more customers if you have something to sell them. And based on my own experience, at least 7% of all your customers ends up buying something extra if you offer them. So putting that into your sequence is super important. So again, I implement my method into a certain set of sequences in a funnel. And I'm going to share more in detail how you do this in a second. And I also just realized that you have different relationships with your customers or your potential customers, with your audience. So you have your cold audience, people who don't know who you are at all. You have your warm audience, people who have some idea of who you are and what you deliver. And you have your hot audience, which is actually your customers. And it's 3 different ways to sell to them. And it's 3 different sales funnels in essence. And we tend to sell just the same way to everybody, which I think is also a bad way of thinking about it. So when I make my funnels, I have a funnel for a cold audience, a warm audience, and a hot audience. The cold audience is always just about what I call value content, meaning content that focuses on the customer and on the solution you can help them with, instead of talking about yourself. So that would be all your amazing inbound marketing blog posts, for example, that talks about them instead of you. And again, after they then consume that, being a video on Facebook, being a blog post or something like that, I will then jump them down into my warm audience funnel, where I get them to engage in some sort of way. So leaving their email address to give them more valuable information, or getting them to sign up to something or share something so they actually engage in things. And again, based on very basic marketing mechanisms today, you're then able to then push them further down into your funnels. And it's not until you actually go through the 2 first funnels that you are presented with sales. So if we have our marketing method and we have a sales funnel, I think it's pretty pointless if you don't have a lot of people to put it into. So again, I wanted to create a system where you can actually, almost like a water tap, where you turn your water tap on, water comes out, or customers or leads, and then turn it off again. And I'm going to share actually a story later on one of my customers called Adi. He's in the beauty business, so he has beauty salons in Oslo. He started with 1 salon when we started working together. He now has 6 salons, and he basically turns his water tap on every Monday, and Tuesday afternoon he turns it off again, because then he has enough customers in his chairs for the next following week. So it's a really cool system. But most of us have some sort of owned media, right? I had my email list, I had websites, you usually have a blog and other social media. But those things, it's great and it's important to have there, but it goes really, really slow. So I call this hope marketing. You're basically just creating a lot of things and hoping people will find you. And it's great and it's free. You use a lot of time, but it's kind of free. But it's not a good way to grow anything. You need to be in control over how things are actually panning out. So I wanted to find a way to buy the right kind of traffic, but make sure that I did it with a profit. So I started testing all different platforms out there. I even tested out Tinder as a marketing platform, which was weird. But I experimented with Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, for example, Google AdWords, obviously, so all the traditional ones. And it was very clear for me very fast that you usually need a mix of everything, but as of now, as of right now, I would say it's no better place to buy traffic from than Facebook, because it's the most underpriced platform right now, and it's also the most effective one. So I don't know if you guys know, but for every day, Facebook gets more and more expensive. So it's 4 times more expensive for me to buy traffic now than 3 years ago, and it will keep on increasing. So I'm not saying that Facebook is your savior forever. I'm just saying right now, it's the most underpriced platform to buy traffic on, and you're able to then laser target the ones you are trying to reach. Again, as the social view guys talked about earlier on, which I think was a great presentation in terms of using Facebook in a smart way to put people further down into the funnel. So I started testing Facebook to try to find out the best way to use the platform in that way. And after a lot of using my own money and testing with my own products, I found a very good way to use Facebook. So based on my method, based on the sales funnel logic, and then based on me being able to put people into my sales funnel, I was able to put everything together. And I'm going to show you step by step how you can implement this in your business in a second. But I also just want us to remind us that people are people. And the smartest things said about marketing and said about understanding people, in my personal opinion, is from Robert Cialdini in his book called Influence from 1982. And actually, the list I'm going to go through now, the 6 principles, I've printed out outside my desk, and I look at it every time I write a marketing email, every time I write an ad, every time I'm going to write a video script, I use these principles. So even though it's very old principles, actually 2 years ago, Robert Cialdini republished his book, and all his principles were again proved right. So he tried to challenge the principles and see if it changed over the last 30 years. But it hadn't changed at all. So people are still people. And I just want you to, so again, if it's a page you should take a photo of today, it's the 6 principles, because I think this is what's going to help you out the most. But it's about communicating. So the first way to create influence on your audience is to be consistent. That means being consistent in your messaging, consistent in how often you message it, what voice you use, and also the visuals on how you communicate. Because we have such good bullshit detectors in our head as consumers that the moment something feels weird, inconsistent, we will then become insecure, and it's harder to get them to do what you want. So consistency is the first principle that we need to master. The second principle is something called reciprocation. And that is basically, if I over-deliver and give something of great value to someone, they will feel in their subconscious that they owe me something. I hate to get gifts because it just makes me remember I forgot to bring them something. I should definitely buy some gifts for them, right? So instead of feeling great of getting something, I'm thinking, okay, I should give them something even more back, right? Can you relate to that? Yeah? So that's reciprocation in action. So again, if you give your audience free training videos or help them with something that will feel valuable for them, they feel that they owe you something. So a great example of this, I have a lady, she's been subscribed to my newsletter for 10 years. And she emailed me a couple of months back and asked if I had something she could buy because she felt so bad every time she got an email after such a long time. Which was weird, but again, reciprocation in action. So principle number 3 is about social proof. So you're much cooler if someone else says that you're cool instead of yourself saying you're cool, right? So using testimonials, customer stories, anything that can show some kind of social proof is extremely powerful. Number 4, authority. We trust doctors, professors, authors, much more than we trust anyone else. So anything you can show your audience to build authority is, again, very positive to make them convert from a lead to a customer. Liking, if you like somebody, you're more willing to actually buy from them, naturally. And the last one, so this is the last one, number 6, and maybe the most powerful one is called scarcity. And scarcity is what makes Black Friday work so good. So it's about having a limited access to something. So you only have a sale that day, or you can only buy 10 of these. So using scarcity in your marketing is extremely powerful. Now, we marketers are about to ruin Black Friday because we now have Black months instead of days. But in essence, if you limit the access to something, people will then make a decision faster and more likely to do that positively against you. So that's the 6 principles that I use in all marketing, and that's also in my formula. So just let's go quickly through it, and then I'm going to show you the steps and what you should do. So Step number 1 is to use the jab method to build a relationship with people first before you sell them anything. It's to use the sales funnel blueprint to create a predictable selling machine. And again, use Facebook ads to put people into that funnel. And it's a 2-stage funnel. It's very simple. You can use it for anything. So for example, in my friend Adi, who sells then beauty salon spots or beauty treatments, he starts with a video that helps girls to become better at putting up their own makeup. And everyone who sees more than 50% of that video will then get another ad. Again, not selling anything, but actually then letting them download a kit of more tips on how to be more effective at the morning when you're doing your makeup. And it's in that process, when you ask for their email, he starts also following up on emails. So phase 1 is a pre-sale funnel, and phase 2 is the sales funnel. So when you put them into you put them into the cold audience, right? So value content, then the warm audience, that's engagement content, and then the third step is then the sales funnel. So I've been using this for 3 years now. I worked with over 60 different clients on it, and we tested out with over 700 businesses, and the formula works. It's great for anything from makeup to also selling technology. A couple of companies are selling all over the world now using this method. And I just want to give you something very tangible to do some homework when you get home. So 6 actions that you can do today with your business. So 1, always focus on giving value first. You should always have some value content, meaning articles or videos that's not focused on sales or you, but your audience, that you can constantly sell and show people. If you haven't, you should definitely install the Facebook pixel on your page so you can actually retarget people, and also upload all your customers in something called custom audience on Facebook. Then you should have your own funnel. Put this into an easy system. Start really small. I usually start with just 50 kroner a day, and I scale up when I see that things are working. With the Facebook pixel, I can actually measure the conversion cost of every step. And you should always remember that you need to give more than you take, and you really earn the right to market to your audience. I think that is super important. So focus on the relationships and give value. That is the essence of any successful marketing campaign. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, we have a great question. What do you think about how to do adjustments of how much upsales I push based on how the buyer acts, and how can AI help us with upsales?
So I'm a strong believer that talking about AI right now is more confusing for marketers than actually helping them, because we're not there at all. Everyone talks about AI is the thing we need to be doing, but nobody says what we need to be doing. So it's a bit confusing. In terms of testing your upsells, it's the same way you test all marketing. You run some traffic through it and see what works. I usually recommend that when you're creating an upsell product, people mentally, this is weird, I have a Facebook course I sell online, and at the start I tried to sell them more Facebook training after they signed up for my course. But it didn't work at all. And I started to ask the customers what was wrong, and they said that, well, I already bought your course, I'm already a Facebook expert, so why do we need more Facebook marketing? So again, I try then to upsell them to selling a bot course or a LinkedIn course or an Instagram course, and it instantly converted. So my point is that your upsell should be the next logical step that people can do after they finished whatever your product or service are doing. So it needs to be a logic kind of upgrade, not on the thing they've been doing because they bought it and mentally they're already kind of an expert in whatever they bought, but it's more about what is the next logical step of this. So I would say that, and I would say that usually try to have a price between half price of what they originally bought, because it's much easier for you to start with that and start to get that to convert. And after a while, when you understand what upsells actually work, I've successfully implemented funnels where you charge 3-4 times more than the original product. And that's when it really gets fun, because the business that can spend the most to buy a customer is the business that always will win. Meaning that the more you can sell them after they actually bought from you, the more money you can actually spend to get them into your funnel.
We have time for one more question.
Okay, one more then. After trust, what's second most important in your opinion? Is it price, or what do you think is important?
I would say convenience. People usually buy something to fix a problem. So make it really easy for them to understand why your product will help them with the problem they have. Price is of course important as well, but if you're telling me that this thing will make my life so much better, it's not always about price. It's more about, okay, how fast can I get it? So get them to trust you and make them understand that you can actually help them and what benefits it will have in their lives. So that's the number 2, I would say.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Thomas.
you.